Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast, where we'll explore happiness at work and show you how to coach yourself to be happier there and more successful too, no matter what.
It's time for another question and answer episode. I'm Julia Seal, and today I'll be answering some of the questions from you, our listeners, from the last 5 episodes, the Insight bonus sessions all about smileys, smiling, laughing, and their importance to our happiness at work. You'll remember we started off this exploration by considering the yellow smiley face, smiley and the color yellow, to unearth your most deeply held beliefs about your happiness and success, learning how to apply them to challenging how you approach your daily happiness. Then we went a step further, asking ourselves what emoji and emoticons had to do with our happiness and success at work, how you can use them to understand yourself and others better, and how to use them as 5 coaching tools to directly impact your happiness set point, your relationships, and your emotional intelligence. We explored what's behind the human smile and laughter, looking at how you can use these to intentionally and purposefully shift your in-the-moment and long-term happiness. And then we finished off with a new coaching tool to take advantage of everything we've learned to date, to discover what thoughts and feelings might be lying behind our unhappiness at work. We practiced some self-smizing, smiling our authentic smiles, and using mirror work to help us, and learning about curiosity and the growth mindset in coaching, inner dialogue, and the inner critic. If this is all new to you, you'll find all 15 episodes on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach, as well as the free coaching tools I've created for you to use with Series 1. It's the very start of your coaching journey with me, and the start of learning how to coach yourself step by step, what we're doing here on this podcast, Happiness Matters. I've been very inspired by your questions, so today I'll answer a few of them in detail and hopefully give you some further understanding into what we've discussed so far. I'll also be including some additional tips on how you can coach yourself to your happy and successful at work, no matter what. You can work with me individually on this Happiness Matters coaching journey. I offer once-off sessions to go through what you discover with your mirror work coaching tool, and these are regularly available. You can book these once-off sessions on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach, by clicking on the yellow button, Coach with Julia. You'll be able to schedule and pay for your session online. So now, on to the questions and queries you've had on these Smiling Insight sessions. This question from a listener. From your session on emojis and emoticons, I noticed that I'm very judgmental about people who use them in their communications at work. They really annoy me, and it's true. I do think that people who use them are not professional. And I think they're really inappropriate at work. Is this actually affecting my happiness at work? The exploration into emojis and emoticons in episode 1.9 is primarily about understanding yourself better through understanding the influences and shapers of your definitions and expectations of happiness. It also asked you to think about how you communicate with others, how you assess others' behaviors, and how you might be judging them in a way that is not helping you at work, possibly even impacting on your own happiness and success at work. And our last self-coaching tip of that episode was to increase your awareness of how you might be judging others. So to your question, do I think it is affecting your happiness at work? And how do I stop it from annoying me? I want to say something now about judgment. We typically see judgment as a negative and bad thing about ourselves. But actually, we do it all of the time. It's part of our biology. We make assessments about our environment continually as part of our survival instinct. This plate is clean. This situation is dangerous. This person can help me, and so on. So even me as your coach, I'm doing it all the time. We are always assessing every situation we're ever in. This ability of ours becomes a problem when your judgments, your opinions cloud your ability to actually see what's going on. As a coach, for example, judging our clients would be really problematic. How would you like a coach who judged something that you find shameful and you've risked yourself to share with them? How would you like a coach who just tell you what to do when they have no idea what's going on in your life outside of the coaching session? Coaches spend time before every coaching session cleaning up their thinking and putting their judgments aside. It's often called holding the space. And it enables your coach to put their own judgments and opinions aside so that they can be there for you and you alone. The reason for this is that no one can possibly know what is absolutely the best thing for you in a given situation, ever. Only you can know this. Coaches will give you perspective, but we can never know what's exactly right for you. I'll post on social media a wonderful little doodle image by Decade 2 Doodles that speaks to this so beautifully. So knowing this about judgment, you could use this situation in two ways. Firstly, you can use it for yourself, to understand yourself better, to really understand how easily you might make judgments about other people, and to discover why you do this and whether it's serving you in your life, contributing to your happiness and success. And in this self-coaching work, you can decide if you want to keep these judgments and opinions or if you want to set them aside, let them go. You can just acknowledge your judgments and opinions. Please don't judge yourself for having them. You're only human, and I really don't want you to tailspin into self-judgment, giving your inner critic even more to berate you with. The decision you make here will depend on what will give you the results you want in your life. So, do you even want to get irritated when you see an emoji in someone's email? Do you want to expend the energy of irritation on something like this? Could you use that energy on something else that might increase your happiness and your success at work? Judging others, just so you know, is a topic that we'll cover in far more depth in our relationship series, Series 3. Then, what else can you do about it? Should you intervene and say something? This really does depend on you, your organization, and its culture. What you're not going to do is to intervene in order to control the emoji communicator so that you no longer feel irritated. This is your own self-management. This is your work to self-coach on. However, if your company culture is going to penalize their professional success, see them as incompetent or silly, then your intervention could be helping them on their career path, and you could intervene as their colleague or manager. And I'd suggest tackling it with a coaching or possibly a mentoring mindset. Clean up your own opinions and judgments first, then become as curious as you can about the other person. The curiosity we spoke about in episode 1.12, the attitude of fascination. Being fascinated with why people make the choices they do can give you so much freedom to understand, rather than just trying to fix or change them. Especially trying to change others' behavior so we can feel better inside ourselves. That never works. The next question is not really a coaching question, but it is quite fun. Since you've been talking about smiling, Julia, I've always wondered about passport photos and why we're not allowed to smile for a passport photo. This is a fun question, isn't it? And the answer is somewhat surprising. Passport photos are always pretty awful. And I do remember my early passports, I was smiling. Nowadays, it's part of the specifications that come with your passport application. no hair near the face and no smiling, or have a plain expression and your mouth closed. It's to do with the new biometric technology that's used in most modern passports these days. This technology uses facial recognition to match you to your passport when you're standing in front of immigration officials. The software uses points on your face to identify you. So it maps the edge of your nose, your eyes, and your lips. And if you smile or even frown, the position of these points change and the software cannot recognize you. A more sobering reason I found on a travel blog is that a neutral, relaxed expression provides an easier match if you're unconscious or dead. Something to think about. The last question today is, I'm still unsure of when fake smiling and laughing is good for me and when it isn't good for me. You'll remember in episode 1.10, we talked about the advice we often hear from others to just smile when we're in a difficult situation. And then in episode 1.11, we talked about laughing for no good reason. In both situations, we discovered that smiling and laughing, even if we don't feel like it in the moment, can have enormous benefits to us, physically, mentally, and socially. From improved mood to boosting your immune system and lowering your blood pressure to feeling rewarded and building social bonds. Let's look a bit more at when it's not good for you. When fake it till you make it does not improve your happiness and success and does not result in all the benefits we discussed. This talks to the idea of the smile or laughter being used as a way to distract others from our true feelings and as a mask, as described by psychologist Paula Niedenthal in episode 1.10. Now, there is research from Michigan State University showing that fake smiles may be bad for your health. This research looked at bus drivers who by nature of their work requires them to be polite to many people all through their working day. So the idea of service with a smile, express positive emotions and hide your negative emotions. In particular, it looked at how the drivers' moods changed on days when they gave more fake smiles, called surface acting, versus the days when their smiles were authentic, called deep acting. On days when their smiles were forced, the drivers' moods deteriorated and they disengaged from work. So trying to suppress their negative thoughts seemed to make them more persistent. And other research confirms this, finding increased stress, emotional exhaustion, and decreased job satisfaction. So those big McDonald's smiles that I spoke about in episode 1.10 might very well be harming their employees' happiness. What the research also showed is that when the drivers tried to smile through deeper effort, by actually cultivating pleasant thoughts and memories and smiling a genuine, authentic Duchenne smile, their overall moods improved and their productivity increased. This deep acting required them to reframe their thoughts about the situation. Just as we described back in episode 1.5 and in more detail in the 1.5 Q&A, that cognitive reframing helps you look at situations from a slightly different perspective, a shift in your mindset, just like we do when we ask, is the glass half full or is it half empty? So in response to your question about when a fake smile is good for me and when it is not good, I'll remind you of two things. Firstly, you'll hear me talk about doing things on purpose and intentionally a lot throughout this podcast. It's what we're all about. Choosing to do things on purpose and with intention is one of the key features of our coaching journey together. It's about becoming more aware, more mindful of how and why we choose to behave the ways we do. So fake smiling, smiling on purpose so that you can take advantage of your biology, will see you experiencing the physical, mental, and social benefits. Use the Duchenne smile and Father Christmas's full-bellied ha 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 and ho 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 on purpose and intentionally to truly impact your happiness and success immediately and in the long term. Even just try a variation on this smizing, something my own coach suggests. Every time you pass a mirror, wink at yourself and see what that brings up for you. Then, when you know that this is not going to help you, it's time to look more into your negative emotions to discover what's going on, why you feel the need to smile politely, to pretend, and to cover up what's going on inside you. This is the work I do with the happiness wisdom concept of life is 50-50. If you don't remember where I introduced this, you'll find it in episode 1.4, going deeper into your 10 out of 10 happiness. It's all about 50% negative emotions and 50% positive emotions, the yin and yang of our lives, and the topic of our next episode, where unhappy is the story of happy. It's also why I've opened up my coaching calendar so you can book these once-off sessions with me. I hope this has been interesting and has shed some light for you and given you some coaching tips to try going forward. Some of you might well now be feeling a bit confused about what exactly happiness is for you. We've done so much exploring, questioning ourselves that you might be feeling more lost than when you first started. At this point in our coaching together, I want to introduce you to Where's Wally and how this children's puzzle book and world phenomenon can help you with the myriad of thoughts in your inner dialogue that might be coming up for you now as we work our way through Series 1. Where's Wally? Do you know it? If you're in North America, you might know him as Where's Waldo, or Willy in Afrikaans, Charlie in France, Holger in Danish. He's got a localized name, just like our board game from episode 1.3, where we discovered that Snakes and Ladders is Chutes and Ladders in North America. So the idea in the puzzle book is that you search for Wally, a little guy dressed in a stripy red beanie, stripy red shirt, and blue pants, who's hiding somewhere in a variety of cartoon character crowd scenes. He was created in 1987 by English illustrator Martin Handford, and he's become very popular. Not only are there a lot of books, there's also a comic strip and TV series. He's appeared in video games, even in a Google Maps game, in the TV shows The Simpsons, Frasier, and Friends. He's on cereal boxes, on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and of course he's on Facebook. Now, why is he so popular? Why do adults love searching for Wally as much as children? According to the Smithsonian and research conducted using Where's Waldo images, he's an example of a very basic and satisfying cognitive process for us, something called visual search using fixational eye movements. This is the same cognitive process as looking for your car keys, but not quite so frustrating. While Where's Wally is a visual searching game, it's a great illustration of what you're doing here in our self-coaching journey to your happiness and success at work. As you become more aware of your inner monologue, your inner self-talk, and as you become more aware of the ways you've defined happiness for yourself up to now, it can feel like so much noise, so much clutter, and clarity seems impossible that you cannot find it. The more you stay with this process, the more you keep looking and uncovering the layers of your definitions and opinions about the world of work and happiness, the easier it's going to become. When you find Wally in the puzzle pictures, it's hard to believe you could ever have missed him. He's so obvious. And this is the same as your discoveries on your own version of happy and successful at work. Stay with me on this Insight series and you'll find your Wally, your Waldo, before too long. As Richard Scotch says in his book, The Secrets of Happiness, Rarely is our first step towards happiness a giant one. Sometimes we might not even recognize that we're taking it. There really is no better time to do this work together. Next up, I'm very excited about the upcoming Insight episodes I've got planned for you. We're going to work more with what we discovered in episode 1.12 and 1.13, Self-SmiZing, the thoughts you have about yourself, your relationship with yourself, and your inner critic. And we'll start with, Unhappy is the story of happy. Bye for now. I'm heading up our west coast to see the fantastic carpets of spring flowers of the Cape Floral Kingdom.
Thanks for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast. Do join us again here next week on Tuesday. You can subscribe to this series at Apple Podcasts on iTunes, or you can sign up for it on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. Also, you can join our conversation on Facebook by following us there. Our Facebook page is also Happiness-Matters.coach.